So this is the culmination of many, many years in this activity, and so many people have touched my experience in debate that I'm sure to undercover at least this part of my last debate. I want to thank the University of Minnesota for hosting, the NDT Board of Trustees for running this tournament. I want to thank Kentucky VT. They're great opponents. We have a lot of respect for what they do. They won the Copeland for a reason. I want to thank my parents, Paul and Candace Stupek. They've been so supportive of my career. They're the best debate parents. They're everywhere on Facebook sharing screenshots of tab room results for some reason. They see debate like a sport and root us on in that way, and I think that's awesome. They flew up here all the way from Atlanta hoping to watch my final debate. They had to fly back before that happened, thankfully, so I hope they get the chance to see this somewhere. I was introduced to debate in high school. I went to a school called Mount Vernon Presbyterian. My coach was Zach Strother. I can never thank everyone who's associated with Mount Vernon Debate enough for giving me my start in this activity and allowing me to catch the debate bug that we all have here. I am so, so proud and grateful to be a part of the University of Georgia and their debate program. It means so, so much to me. I want to thank Dr. Ed Panetta. He makes all this possible, signs the checks, as he would put it. Hayes Watson is a big part of why I chose to go to UGA. He reached out to me when I was a small high school debater without a lot of national success and told me that I would have the opportunity to have success at UGA, and I'm so grateful for that. The time and effort that Hayes has put into this program is unmatched. Nathan Rothenbaum is a big reason why I'm in this position. When he came to UGA, he totally changed our culture. He pushes us to innovate with how we approach critical positions. No one matches Nathan Rothenbaum's passion for debate. He's always pushing us to do more and more with our arguments, and he nearly matches our stress level before decisions. He's the best. A lot of other coaches made this possible. Becca Steiner, Logan Grimzinski, Stephen Murray, Clay Stewart, Andrew Hart, Stephen Murray. All of them have listened to practice speeches, participated in research and pre-rounds, and overall made this debate possible. I want to thank Georgia Debate, past, present, and future, who have played a role in this moment. Brent Culpepper is taking off from working to be here for this. It's been awesome having his presence here this weekend, especially for good luck with coin flips. Shante Jordan was here helping with our scouting operation. I want to thank everyone associated with Georgia Debate who's in Athens now: Katie Marshall, Josh Weintraub, Miriam O'Kamer, Andrew Goldner, Morgan Leach, and others. Georgia HH clearing 3 teams at the NDT is perhaps a bigger programmatic accomplishment than us being here. Alyssa has been awesome. Clearing at your second NDT is a huge accomplishment. You've been a big help this reason. Trip Haskins, you're so, so smart, and you're so, so good at research. I've given you enough shit about paragraph integrity over the years. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the work that you put into debate and the depth of thought that you put into this activity and helping us succeed. Swap, you're a brave man for living with me and Nathan. These past 2 years, you're always consistently the smartest person in the room. You approach arguments with so much depth, and you've contributed so much to our success. Advite is my partner in ESR. He's taught me so much about being a 2N. His debate instincts and approach to argument is just unmatched, and his skill taught me so much. Nathan Rice is Nathan Rice is my best friend. I wouldn't be here without him. He's the best 2A in the country. He's a great AF researcher. Everything he does, it means so much. He's taught me so much about debate. I wouldn't be here without him. Let's talk about free zones now. All right, is everyone good? 10 was the NPT changes the radar breaking point after glitch, and 18 requiring polarization. NPT durability when tested as ever before. Article 6 remains the most serious contention. The NPTs for which attention and pessimism about the treaties, future of the treaties, and bad shape and risk of becoming obsolete and collapsing. Discord reach. New levels 102 members voted in favor of TPNW. The TPNW not only being effective at risk undermining the NPT, but the TPNW tension take on new significance. Resilience will be tested as never before. The U.S. remained the primary target buyer. This time could be different. Mueller and 17 this time could be different because of the ban treaty and the nuclear states could leave the treaty in favor of a new unavailable deal available to the regime since the NPT needs support as its lifeblood is facing a major existential crisis. Few states are committed to strengthening the NAMs, blocking a number of steps and are in danger of losing enthusiasm. Likely scenarios of weakening NPT possibilities to reform of black polarization in 2020. Right on which a majority of non-nuclear states demand a ban treaty while nuclear states refuse to bring the treaty to collapse. NPT breakdown triggers widespread nuclear cascade mixed pro fast goal abatement. And 15 NPT states nuclear weapons and all states will seek them immediately proliferation. Will snowball this nuclear nominal theory so I believe there's a substantial effort in the absence of enforcement. Most states will seek nuclear weapons and will be widespread. The NPT increases the willingness to support us to cheat our theory. Offers empirical test time and argues few states end up acquiring weapons or answers that most are confident that superpowers can tell prolif to voluntarily forego weapons. The NPT serves to detect cheating and coordinate expectations of widespread non-prolif. This strongly suggests that the regime substantially reduced prolif relative to what would occur in its absence. Even absent collapse, non-nuclear states weaken compliance, erode norms that sparks an arms race blank. And 16 the NPTs are crossroads will depend on the degree of compliance and unstable world to emerge the growing access to sensitive tech intelligence. These are raising serious concerns to the effectiveness of the NPT. Many states feel that the NPT no longer makes their interest in repeatedly abused norms. This greatly enhances lessons the danger felt by states, making the prospect of Purdue's arms race plausible and worrisome. The non-nuclear state discontent is crucial, and the loss of legitimacy not progress have been made to dilute the discriminatory effects and strengthen the regime. The order needs to be strengthened. Only else is conflict and complete nuclear disorder. Prolif causes nuclear war. Chronic and 15 the spread of nuclear weapons poses bigger threats, including nuclear war, terrorism, global instability, weakening alliances before mad new states lack second strike. It has incentive to use first to prevent strike emphasizes use some or lose some pressures. Leaders initiated nuclear crisis by playing ringmanship. States increase the risk of nuclear war spread, increase the risk of nuclear terror. Nuclear weapons embolden nuclear powers, contributing to regional instability. States with nuclear weapons engaged in lower level aggression in crises could result in a catastrophic nuclear exchange. Deterrence fails. Prolif is highly destabilizing. Barrage and 18 deterrence is not remotely compelling, and there is no way to demonstrate nuclear weapons kept the peace. Both factor arguments are impossible to prove and offer no solid ground. History is no more reassuring. Berman examined 348 disputes to see whether nuclear states were successful. They were in deterrence lacks credibility. Deterrence requires each arsenal remains invulnerable. Counterforce increase likelihood of first strike while increasing the danger to preempt. Deterrence assumes optimal rationality and cool calculation that each side will scare the pants off the other, then cannot conduct with precise rationality. Psychology suggests it's absurd. People act out of misperceptions of one is willing to be annihilated. It can't be deterred if one is convinced of the other's hostility. No amount of weaponry against device escalated war, accidental or unauthorized use, or false alarms have with any irregularity that could lead to retaliation. There have been broken error accidents of block of use or faulty computer codes have been interpreted as hostile launch. Binding NSA solve conflict over the ban treaty. Restore political will in the NPT green room. And 17 nuclear states have criticised the ban treaty with to hold any validity and need to show will of progress. NSAs become touched for nuclear states will to engage in massive and legal. NSAs are particularly attracted to those states who recognize the need for disarmament, feel comfortable with the ban the service of action are deeply desirable and undermine legitimacy of nuclear states. Show little willingness to be specific, but when they would not consider nuclear use and arms trust in their commitment to the NPT. NSAs are critical signals and have been a consistent profile domain of the non-nuclear states in the NPT. NSAs strengthen confidence in non-proliferation regime. NSAs are the bargain at the heart of the NPT. The only internationally legally binding NSAs are those established in free zone protocols and protocols cover the majority of states strengthening NSAs and alternative to the ban demonstrate political will of nuclear governance. If they oppose stronger NSAs, this will only lead to increasing frustration. The plan smooths over Article 6 tensions. Graham and Tamaro and 2K strengthening NSAs represent an important step toward commitments on Article 6 and strengthening the NPT. They have significant political importance and discernment. NSAs represent a crucial element of the NPT and a primary factor in the decision not to pursue nuclear weapons. Making NSAs legal binding will be a significant step towards strengthening the NPT. Strengthening NSAs will demonstrate a significant commitment by the U.S. Many states are concerned that the U.S. is shifting towards unilateralism development that can spell disaster for the NPT. Legal binding NSAs shore the erosion of confidence of the regime. Ratifying non-use protocols sufficient to solve Spectre in 5 NSAs by means of free zones use associated with the universal non-use treaty. The demand for legally binding NSAs has been pressed with sources of bad. The name of non-use protocols to African Central Asian South-Pacific regions were all to enter into force and ratify by all states. More than half of the NPT non-nuclear states would be covered by legally binding NSAs, including 4/5 of the name discovered would include the considerable majority of the states most vocally advocating for legally binding NSAs. Developments could go far to diffuse the debate within the NPT and reinforce a sense of common purpose. Among parties contingent to is arms control, emerging tech risk extinction. New arms control agreements are key clear, and 18 new array of tech is being applied to military use of far-reaching consequences. Policymakers will be compelled to address dangers posed by innovative weapons and to devise international arrangements to regulate the use. Far more work is needed. Arms control of emerging tech is urgency is development is accelerating. The U.S., China, and Russia are indicating a vigorous arms race warfare in cyberspace could threaten nuclear stability by exposing critical systems and prompting early launch machines will accelerate the pace of fighting, result in unintended use of nuclear weapons. AI initiate escalatory steps on autonomous weapons, invest capacity to destroy subs and mobile missiles, encouraging an opponent in crises to launch a nuclear strike. Such whatever nuclear deterrence and ammunition currently exists, but China, Russia, and the U.S. are developing hypersonic weapons. Hypersonic weapons increase the expectation of disarming attack and encourage air trigger attack is that increase crisis and instability. Cyber attacks could be launched on adversaries. Early warning and command systems skirmishes in cyberspace erupt and violent conflict attacks collapse critical infrastructure, triggering arm escalation. Policymakers will be compelled to devote attention to arms control tech that may emerge will be necessary to devise new arms controls to overcome dangers. Now is key to establish rules of the road on emerging tech. Only Congress, Solis to Patrick, and 17 to Lincoln, undermined international agreements, advances in tech outpace regs, world sensitivity, putting opportunity to ensure that big breakthroughs enhance rather than threaten humanity on between tech and global governments, various effective new arms races, cost decrease more, actors, state and non-state will gain access to capabilities given the unarmed first countries need multilateral rules and the U.S. Congress is a critical role to play in setting multilateral regulation of new tech ownership promote a global regime that can adapt to innovations. Arms control agreements on emerging tech work and are possible balance fodder and including the reports of the death of arms control and not only prematurely discipline arms control is adaptable, flexible, and resilient arms control is being reshaped by emerging tech, hypersonic weapons, autonomous systems, and AI will not be ignored. We have the ability to get ahead of this trend and manage lives before they materialize preemptive arms control. We begin among the P5 on emerging tech and started. Imagine these states countries to develop framework of arms and confidence building that can create binding agreements to the height of hubris to think we have exhausted our ability to achieve verifiable arms control agreements. We are not doomed to destabilizing arms competition. The plan is key to a global arms control regime. First is domestic ratification. The treaty process kills U.S. arms control leadership, makes future agreements impossible. CAs are key ribbon and arms controls in serious jeopardy. Treaties are left to language in the Senate. The result is international frustration with American leadership as many goals are held hostage by senators. The ratification process can create a perverse effect of Republican senators hold up the treaty divorce depending on to increase nuclear opposition demand on the key purpose of the treaty, which is to demonstrate that countries are reducing reliance. Ratification creates a platform for partisan agreement and fully adopts with the treaty. Is an ultimate set of a treaty. Congressional action will be much easier, requiring a simple majority. The Senate submitted a norm that arms control must be treaties. The plan flips that Spiro and one every arms control agreement since 1972 has been approved as a treaty. The Senate has formally expressed that arms control agreements must be submitted as treaties. The Senate declared its intent to approve agreements that obligate the U.S. to limit the armed forces only pursuant to treaty power appears to have the status of boilerplate and seated reversing a decision to submit a CEA. The president did not even attempt to defend interchangeability arms control had a controversial treaty and submitted as a congressional executive agreement that sparked constitutional skirmishes. That sets a precedent that encourages future arms control CEAs. Weiss in 92 should the president submit weapons agreements to Congress as the CEA. The House will seize the opportunity to establish a record that will support the conclusion of future arms control agreements and congressional executive agreements will be establishing a comprehensive case for the constitutionality of approving weapons agreements as a congressional executive agreement will ensure a precedent for the nation's future international commitments. Second is international ratification. Now, nuclear states will not give up WMD tech if they are targets of U.S. nuclear strikes. The plan is key to follow on Dowdy and one on nuclear states bulk bans because of nuclear threats and arms control is the categories of WMD is intertwined with U.S. states capabilities and hedge against future contingencies to prevent being blackmailed by unanswerable WMD to prevent I preach abstinence while to a nuclear lockout is discriminatory and unacceptable. It's impossible to separate nuclear arms control from all WMD inside the same tent. They impinge on each other. Nuclear arsenals justified as a hedge while CBW is breached as a poor man's nuclear weapon. Western powers and arms controllers do not have the final say. States being asked to give up all WMD choose a link to nuclear weapons and arms strikes. The U.S. must demonstrate a more credible commitment beyond the vague statement of intent. Global regulation is key. Wilson and 13. If a regulatory regime only regulates some states but not others, dangerous emerging tech could be developed and utilized by non-regulated states to threaten global security because rogue states would and have a monopoly without a truly global treaty. Countries develop to develop emerging tech engage in a race to arms. The plan the United States federal government should enact as congressional executive agreements the provisions of the protocols of the Treaty of Rarotonga, the Treaty of Pelindaba, and the Central Asian Nuclear Weapon Free Zone Treaty that restrict the authority of the President of the United States to conduct first-use nuclear strikes. Contingent 3 is solvency. The plan creates binding in a few commitments to the non-nuclear member states of the three treaties. Davenport accepting the treaty establishing a nuclear weapon free zone includes a protocol for the nuclear states to ratify these protocols with legally binding call upon nuclear weapon states not to use or threaten to use nuclear weapons against treaty parties. Countries have signed and ratified a protocol and declared conditions. Back to the NPT advantage. The plan is key to strengthen NPT safeguards. Givens and 18. The non-proliferation of nuclear faltering non-nuclear states will be more likely to see those failed bargain and will be less interested in cooperating with U.S. non-proliferation such as strengthening the withdrawal clause or universal doctrine of stronger safeguards. Those safeguards prevent Iranian enrichment. Goldschmidt and 15 NPT members strengthen the safeguards are creating a requirement to maintain even if state withdrawal standards. Iran to be the most likely to take advantage of the loophole. Safeguards were in place around would not have the right to use any of its enrichment facilities or enter be persuaded to accept irreversible safeguards likely if non-nuclear states agreed safeguards would constitute a significant disincentive for withdrawing Middle Eastern arms race. Goshal in 19 Iran's nuclear chief and Iran would use enrichment in any volume and level convening or the construction of modern centrifuges. Iran launched the UF6 production facility that would open place for Iran to enrich weapons grade. The government would develop a nuclear arsenal to be a full part of it would start a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Any attempt to increase enrichment would automatically lead to the nuclear deal becoming void. Iran's nuclear program check will move ahead to become a full-fledged nuclear program in a short span. Extinction. Avery and 13 war in the Middle East established a region. Pakistan introduced nuclear weapons. Russia and China returned to a war. Nuclear weapons would be used accidentally by accident or misconduct, making the world uninhabitable.
Okay. Advantage 1, other than Iran, who gets nukes?
A lot of countries get nuclear weapons. The co-invadment evidence says that after one country gets the bomb, every country will get it because the nuclear taboo erases. Immediately after the plan would probably be U.S. allies like Japan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia.
Japan is going to get a nuclear weapon now after 60 plus years of having it in their constitution that they're not going to do that. Why?
They have the technical capacity to do so. We've read evidence that the only thing that is constraining them to do that now is the NPT.
I think that's wrong. I think you've read a lot of like political science broad cards that's like NPT studies poli-sci reasons constrains proliferation, but I don't think you have a card that says these states are going to get nukes. Do you disagree?
I disagree. I think
Which
that the co-invadment evidence is the card about NPT norms, and it's the card about it's assumptive of the erosion of those norms, and says that that would cause other countries to want to proliferate.
The Avery card you read is from a theoretical physics professor Who cares?
No. This person is super qualified. Read the...
Because he has like a Nobel Prize in science?
Yeah, has a Nobel Prize in activism and served as the chairman of the Danish Peace Academy. He's like in social science research.
Okay, well,
he's making a prediction
his reason why Russia and China get drawn into an Iran war is oil. If you Google who does Iran sell its oil to, country number 1, Japan 14%. Country number 2, India 13%. Country number 3, South Korea 10%. Country number 4, Turkey 7%. So Iran sells less than 7% of its top 4 exporters are Russia and China. Why would they fight a war over Iran if most of their oil?
Russia and China have strategic interest in the region. They care about resources. They care about the stability of those resources.
Oh, but I just okay. The hypersonics thing on Advantage 2.
Yeah.
China has the DF-21 now that can already hit a U.S. carrier. We have no countermeasures. Russia, if you Google Russia hypersonics, it's like they have tested some, they exist.
I don't know what all this Google stuff is. How do you get evidence? Literally says that these technologies have not been fully developed right now.
Russia's tested successfully a hypersonic missile. If you don't believe me, you can Google it.
No munitions currently exist, but China, Russia, and the United States are developing hypersonic weapons of various types.
I'm sort of making the Google test thing here, but so it's like, provided that I'm right that those weapons do exist, or at least they're testing them, why would Russia and China unbuild them?
It's not. Our internal link is not about unbuilding. It's about creating rules of the road for their usage and conflict, which is what we think.
How does if the hypersonics are not nuclear, how does the conflict go nuclear?
Hypersonics are really fast, which means that they can strike nuclear targets, strike things like mobile ICBM launchers really quickly without warning. That undermines crisis stability.
So, like after 70 years of the existence of nuclear weapons, there's now going to be a counterforce temptation because
our ICBMs aren't as fast as hypersonics. Hypersonics means that nations don't have an ability to respond quickly.
Okay.
Which uniquely upsets the escalation.
Yeah, we're good.
I have some thank yous too. So a lot of people's efforts obviously contributed to us being here and to everything that has happened. The tournament hosts, DCH, the University of Minnesota debate team, and the people behind the scouting and shadow tab pages and everyone else who worked together to put this tournament experience together are wonderful, and they made this the most enjoyable NDT that I've been to yet. I especially appreciate all the judges who volunteered their time and efforts to watch us argue and to tell us how to get better at our stuff. Thanks to our opponents over the course of the tournament for providing incredible competition. There are plenty of people behind the scenes at the UK team as well. My parents, who got behind my weird obsession early, and they gave me plenty of support to explore my passion for this activity. Even though they never understood it when I started it, they still don't understand it now. I tried to explain it to my dad once, and he like drew me a graph about diminishing returns to effort, and like said that I was wasting my life. But we got over that hump, and he got behind it, and despite the fact that he didn't quite understand, he's been very supportive, and I appreciate that. I think they're watching right now, so thanks to them. My coaches and older debaters at my alma mater, GBN, provided me excellent mentorship, and they set me on the right path. I especially want to thank Kevin McCaffrey, who was my intellectual inspiration and actually did some work for us to be here. He wrote the AF that Georgia got to see in the prelims, and I really appreciate that help from him. I want to thank the rest of the UK debate team, Jen, Marcus, Saturn, Stephanie, Maria, who engineered a lot of our team's logistics for this tournament and did a wonderful job, and I could not have asked for a better helper on that front. And last but not least, Jacinda, my fellow 2A in the trenches, who's been the bedrock of our team for the past 4 years, and you had your last debate yesterday, and you should be super proud. You had an excellent career. All of you are brilliant. My coaches, Dave, Lincoln, Amar, Leah, Donnie, and Seth, and our recent alums, Ava, who is wonderful, just the nicest person ever, and Theo, even though he is a dirty traitor who went to the other Wildcats after he graduated. But seriously, like, all of you are great, and I would not trade you for any other team or coaching staff. Of course, none of this would be possible without our administration, President Capilouto, and the rest of the university for supporting us and providing the resources that we need to be here today. UJRS, our debates have been excellent over the past 2 years. You two are just so nice, and you're the most hardworking people that, in this activity. You cut so many cards, you put so much effort into your preparation, and I respect both of you immensely, and over the past 2 years, just the most enjoyable debates that I've had. And finally, Dan, I want to thank you, first of all, for your patience. I'm not the easiest person to debate with, yet sometimes, you know, somehow he's managed it for 3 years. We've been partners. You've been my best friend ever since I met you. We've spent an insane amount of time together. We live together. We like hang out all the time. I don't know how he's not tired of me, but his sheer talent for the activity, his kindness, and his positive outlook on the world always push me to do better and be better. And I could not envision doing the college debate journey with anyone else. So thank you all. The order will be 7 off, advantage 1, advantage 2.
You should have sent it before you started.
That's
Yeah.
double got it. Panel. Sweet.
I don't have it, but I don't need it. Excellent.
First off is applicability, interpretation, restriction, requires prohibition, nodal 10, a statutory definition of podcast, interpreting ordinary popular meaning. The word restriction means prohibition, which definition is applicable to the same word wherever it occurs. Restriction is defined as words that phrase the device restriction by prohibition. In the area means all the activities. United Nations 13, in the area means all the activities of the area violation. The act is to prohibit the entire area of authority. Vote Neg 1 limits their interpretation laws, restricting exit of individual treaties, stopping individual tariffs on single countries, or regulating NFU 2 is a ground single issue as don't have common net ground and no link uniqueness for their interpretation. Syria, Yemen, and Russia sanctions none. Next off is politics. It'll pass. USMC will pass the political capitals key. That's Gomez and 313 to achieve bipartisan approval of the White House. Look, terrorists attempting to recapture the success of CJR. Trump officials have been meeting with them leaders to garner bipartisan support for organizing dozens of meetings. Civil support. He's been sending the agreement for ratification. Trump certainly vetoes the plan. Fiat means the Congress overrides. George 10. There's a fundamental flaw in assuming the Congress manifested by enacting a statute by limiting the authority of the president. Rational president will not have to sign such limiting legislation. Rarely does Congress have a supermajority to overcome such a veto. Congress will not waste time debating such a bill guaranteed to face a veto. Only unsuccessful veto obliterates Trump's political capital. Zipper in 18 of Trump had been overheard the very first time he ever accessed the veto power. It was sent the message to Congress as the final say Congress is in charge. The president doesn't land on Corporate name. It would have been a disastrous rebuke, dealt a severe blow to his political capital. USMC is getting U.S. energy security. Bauer 18 USMC ensures a zero tariff on energy. This provision solve the engine to continue expanding exports. It requires Mexico to maintain at least its current level of openness. Its protections are important because investment requires substantial time and legal rules. The producers have to prove the origin if they were to be exempt from duty. Maintaining a requirement will help ensure the energy revolution continues. That solves global war. Greek and 17 U.S. roles energy superpower office opportunities. The U.S. is in the face of research at Russia, fracturing Europe, and the Middle East. The growth of LNG trade are challenging. Russia, U.S. experts have created liquidity to global markets and secure diversity. Europe supplies the U.S. LNG. Contain Moscow's use of gas and foreign policy to looking for China and ensure the U.S. and allied leadership continues gas service of British renewables, reducing emissions. Next off is war powers. The plan sets a precedent that shreds overall presidential power. Klukowski 11, the president impaired as a president creates the branch of one branch and something to which is not outside of the vested branch should not negotiate one needing to cede to the other, encouraging additional demands in the future. Disrupts the constitution of balance. Any White House has the obligation to protect executive privilege. Broad powers are key to disease and bioweapon response. Donahue 14, the military understands weapons have greater capacity to identify disease and access to a broader range of antibiotics and civilian agencies. The military has prepared civilian agencies, not the only institution with the necessary tech resources and power to counter pandemic constitutional questions. Powers come into play. The right to become concerned the current state of disintegration of health and military quarantine underscores Article 2 claims both cause extinction. Sandberg 18 may appear unlikely to pathogen cause extinction since the lack of host limit does not apply to the pathogen has a reservoir under the host species. High potential preventing susceptible species and hyperlethality infected outbreaks until eventually succumbs to environmental effects. Viruses with longer incubation times, higher infectiousness, and case fatality rates are known to cause super pandemics. Does not seem impossible. Major biological extension must be deliberately engineered. Next up is the oversight trade-off. Democrats are going to focus oversight now on limiting modernization, specifically trying to cut nuclear cruise missiles. That's Polican 18. Dems take over and create aggressive oversight of nuclear programs. Development of Americans may push to create greater transparency to the cost of the effort. Then the president's sole authority to use nukes have already taken issue with the LRSO, GPSM, SLBM, and SLCM. The programs may instead pursue extending the life of the Minuteman 3. There's been a bipartisan consensus in support of recapitalizing the arsenal that is on the verge of unraveling. The plan is zero sum with oversight, empirical evidence. Smith 10 Bond. They spend the degree to which legislation will statutory control expectation about effectiveness affect whether or not to engage in the other and increase in any exogenous factor that increases marginal benefits of statutory control will lead to lower oversight. This model assumes that empirical support is trade-off if oversight opportunities is sufficiently reliable from the perspective of majorities and sometimes use statutes to micromanage policy making sure to manage destroys conventional readiness and cybersecurity by busting the Pentagon budget. Smith and 16. Expenses will constitute a huge proportion of the budget, cost will double in this year, and the ensuing leaves are cut out. Other defense priorities consuming conventional cyber and everything else, we must be careful to avoid a self-fulfilling cycle of cancel redundant systems such as the long-range standoff weapon and increased accountability and transparency. Now is the time for serious oversight. Readiness solves global conflict. Out 15. We live in a violent world. Readiness can keep the peace for the adversaries not miscalculate the consequences of military competition must be accountable and tangible to transfer great power or the kinds they killed by the millions. The next great power can involve multiple nuclear weapons, states, and civilization. The posture that at least our adversaries have the West resolve and fighting miscalculation. America's most important role has been to dampen great powers. This is a dependent America's military might. There's been no greater recipe for great power peace. Next off is the ex-anti-CEA counterpoint. The United States federal government should substantially increase statutory authorization and implementation guarantees for the president to conclude binding congressional executive agreements in the area of authority to conduct first-use nuclear strikes, amending 22 U.S. Code Section 2573 as necessary to do so. The president of the United States should use this authority to enact his congressional executive agreements, the provisions of the protocols of the Treaty of Rarotonga, the Treaty of Pelendalba, and the Central Asian Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty that restrict first-use nuclear strikes. The counterplan expands executive power and avoids the war powers dissent. That's Hathaway. In non-Congress, we can grant to the president, make international agreements on the grants of authority became previously vacant, open, and allowing the president to negotiate agreements and put them into force. Referred to as ex-anti-CEA as Congress retains being prepared to oversee the agreements after authorizing the president to make binding agreements on behalf of the U.S. Congress. Is able to release the authority as a result of ex-anti-CEA is made by an entirely unfettered president. As all best binding as legislation sends the most credible signal to foreign states. That's Harrington and 16. The benefits of ex-anti-CEA airplane to see the agreements not rely not solely upon the president but upon intervention coordination with Congress. Ex-anti-CEAs have the status of domestic legislation. They provide greater legitimacy to foreign states. Ex-anti-CEAs have greater domestic legal status on treaties. Reliable commitments. Advanced congressional authority provides the flexibility and guarantee to the foreign state that the commitment will be honored. A foreign state is certain to prefer ex-anti-CEAs. They're more secure, reliable, and faster to create. Next off is the necessary and proper counterplan. The United States federal government should enact its congressional executive agreements, the provisions of the protocols of the Treaty of Rarotonga, the Treaty of Pelendalba, and the Central Asian Nuclear Weapon-Free Zone Treaty that restrict the authority of the president of the United States to conduct first-use nuclear strikes. The Supreme Court of the United States should strike down these statutes, ruling them unconstitutional on the grounds that the term proper and the necessary and proper clause limits congressional action. The United States federal government should provide appropriations for only 450 deployable nuclear weapons and phase out nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles. The United States Senate should approve arms control treaties sent by the president. Defunding to 450 solves the Afghan 14. How many nukes are necessary? The U.S. should reduce the number by 1/3 without defeating against a turn to more practical and stable military strength and significantly reduce its arsenal along with the associated costs of the compromising security of its allies by 450 warheads. The counterplan breathes life into the neglected proper requirement, taking away Congress's free pass, key to access of SOP and federalism. Johnson, in what permitting the erosion of federalism to necessary and proper constitutional have to decide that necessary and proper costs must be interpreted, providing Congress with wholesale discretion. Limitation may be found in the proper requirement. The tendency of no assessment results in expansion of congressional power of Congress. Need only show the legislation essentially there is no check proper. A source of critical authority acknowledged purpose that bylaws that are not used for congressional powers, constitutional powers of any federal institutions or infringement of the trademarks. States breathing life means breathing life gives meaning to as more than a free pass of Congress. The word proper is a distinct requirement to preserve the very essence of the Constitution that prevents major intrusions on state sovereignty. Blackman and 16 law. The fine state sovereignty can be said to be proper. State sovereignty is not just entered as federalism secures the citizens the liberties that derive from the diffusion of sovereign power, even if the laws necessary may not be proper. Attributes of state jurisdictional sovereignty limit Congress's ability to commandeer state courts and hearing the federal course of a cause of action to deprive state courts of jurisdiction, requiring state courts to hear certain cases of great imposition on state sovereignty. Federalism is key to the grid. PESCO 12 and clean energy, electricity generation, state reforms, enable no social different states and granting flexibility will enable innovation, temperance, state market village. Congress should be cautious of expansive jurisdiction of electricity. Extinction, freedom and 16 civilization not exist without electricity within days of blackout. Can come with the entire planet generators would run out of fuel communication with sea states have no water and south of possible cannot operate in a blackout given up would result in societal collapse. Next up is the nuclear power decide the affirmative decimates the nuclear renaissance key to meeting climate targets. As Kumar 17 trans-indicated renaissance basis of reported faith confidence evident from expansion plans systematic factors of the renaissance team produced clean fuel to meet climate change mitigation targets has been elitist with developed world controlling tech and restricting access to renewable structures including the NDT, even those with union responses cannot harness the resources owing to the domination control of United Nations and normative structures, even India, Brazil, or China had struggles dealing with the now regimes of nations' capabilities of strategic autonomy that mismatched with the global norms of renaissance is about uninterrupted access to the epicenter of nuclear shifting to the developing world. Warming causes extinction. Taurus 16. Climate should take priority. Catastrophes and slow motion flame are existential predicament raising the risk wars terrorist attacks more likely the collapse of global systems agriculture ag failures economic uncertainty keep across pressing instability in Syria, Iraq, Libya, and Ukraine. Climate lack of poverty, social tensions, eventual leadership, and weak institutions could societies delivering a conflict multipliers that define the context of civilization but solve the other threats of some irreversible collapse, all bit nuclear wars, terrorist mentioning pandemic, extended back, take precedence over all the risk concerns. Advantage 1. Authoritarian states will model their proliferate regardless of reason. In 1492, ignoring challenges to slowing rule of peacemaking pledges may be violated by dictatorships as happened in Japan and Italy, German remill, Russia's in violation of the INF, and Iran transgresses UN sanctions, North Korean violators, raise questions over American NFU. The only example of prolif they have is Japan. They're a US outland with a nuclear umbrella who hasn't prolif for 60 years. Obviously, they wouldn't do it now. It's the prolif impact is totally wrong. Walton 12 did prolif fearsome consequences, no nukes had remarkably little impact. Main effect has been caution. Prolif is not transformed factors given the nuclear state's ability to blackmail and regional or racist fears have been exaggerated. Consider the record having used in South anti-communist uprising, Soviet Union, China, Israel, South Africa, India, and Pakistan, North Korea. Theory and history teaches that getting a nuke has less impact by the solar spread of weapons as modest effects. Avery, a silly random physics professor writing an op-ed with no expertise in IR, no China and Russia draw in Avery's only warrant is oil, which is false. That was in cross-ex. Iran won't violate the deal even with US sanctions. Economic benefits outweigh. Okay, advantage 2.
No, do it.
Do it. Rome 19. For Iran, the downside be considerable. The old system Europe suffers bypass sanctions, buttress conclusion. The conclusion situation is far from ideal. Low sold is substantial, well above. Toronto social conflict. Iran violated was with jeopardize sales over Europe and outwards. Europe and ever France stop complying. Advantage to arms control on new tech escalates crisis. U17. New weapons sector time obstacles and perfect of course. Much signal political will. Evaluate and research military capabilities more process and more credible. Planning steps of force. And provide opportunities to precise signals more evidence. Incredible signal capabilities more opportunities to build info. Things reduce weapons signal capabilities and lead to peace setting. A peaceful settlements rather than war. A ban. A narrow range of targets and means and coercion nations might develop devastating kinetic weapons. Limits destabilize countries by encouraging nations to use offensive weapons early because they might be vulnerable cyber weapons and more nuanced signals that cause compared to the existing means of signaling which depend on conventional weapons education, no military applications of AI to date. That's horror. What's in 18? It is not clear how AI applications will translate to military power efforts to integrate AI effective and limited agencies developing these sectors struggling to make the leap from development to operational implementation. While AI could enable innovations, that is not a military innovation in itself. This limits analysis about how narrow AI may one day affect the balance of power. AI improves cyber defense, the terrorist attacks. Solmeyer in 18. We believe that AI has the potential to dramatically improve cyber defense with the right combination. AI can help defenders gain for greater mastery over their data. This will cut down attacking opportunities available. Defenders can focus resources on most sophisticated campaigns. Marked at campaigns. What's up?
Hypersonics.
Hypersonics are, they've already been tested. No evidence that their arms control can roll it back. They're impossible. Limrani and 16, the focus of hypersonics that shift to missile, but several chances must be overcome. It is difficult to endure stress and extreme temperatures. Limrani is marked at extreme temperatures.
Okay, Anthony, you good?
Yep.
Status of the counter plans?
Conditional.
Can you pick planks?
No. Right, Dan?
That is correct.
Okay, is the only net benefit to the treaties thing the internal thing?
No. What's the necessary and proper thing?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
treaties. Yeah.
Or, sorry, yeah, the necessary.
The necessary and proper counterplan does not restrict presidential power.
Okay.
So all of the net benefits about that are also.
Okay, so the internal link to the grid says that states are implementing reforms in legislation about clean electricity generation and new grid infrastructure now. What prevents them from doing so?
It says states have made some reforms, but it is calling for an increase in deference to state policymaking. It says we should defer to the states and grant them flexibility, and that this will enable innovation in the states.
Claim, but like, what prevents them from doing those reforms now?
Preemption. So they cannot coordinate across state lines. They cannot develop regional grids. All of that. So the FERC administers regional units of electricity distribution. There are sort of regional markets called ISOs and RTOs, which constrain the flexibility that states have to allocate electricity and grid modernization stuff. States need more flexibility, and all of that would fail under the proper clause.
Okay, the politics dissad, do you need to win that old NAFTA goes away to have an impact?
I don't think we do.
Oh, like why is that? Because old NAFTA also has zero tariff requirements for like Mexico and Canada with our energy trading.
There's like a separate certainty warrant, but like obviously it would be ideal for our impact if old NAFTA went away.
Okay. Okay.
But like we still have an impact.
Sure.
There's a certainty.
Why would Trump veto the plan?
He does not want his authority constrained.
Okay, and why does he think that the plan constrains is an authority constraint?
Because it does.
It's like the plan is in his NPR. It's something that he has like announced as declaratory policy.
You know, footnote Posner from Mule card that agreement on policy matters does not imply agreement on distribution of authority. It's like,
okay.
You know what the answer to this question is, ESR team.
Yeah, topicality, the in the area definition is from the UN Lost Treaty. Why is that a predictable interpretation for us?
The metaphor to territory actually makes perfect sense given the abstract nature of both territory and authority. So we think that it is actually very applicable. And if you find a card that defines in the area of authority, you know, a lot of smart minds have tried, but like,
okay,
this is the best. This is the best definition of in the area. They're they're transposable concepts.
The uniqueness card says that trends indicate a renaissance of nuclear energy in the United States, in Russia, and in some European nations. We have the NPT now. Why is that happening?
You said it's weak. That's why it's happening.
So what evidentiary distinction do you have for weakening NPT means more nuclear energy?
The lines that say that there's a renaissance now, but if we strengthen the NPT, it would create difficulties, quote, dealing with denial regimes over mismatched global norms.